The Island Collection. Calgary's latest exclusive community in Mahogany Manor is set to be Calgary's 6th gated community and first such enclave since a ban on gated communities was enacted in 2001. Soon, you too can live in what a local builder is referring to as Calgary's most remarkable new address. Complete with your own private beachfront and personal dock, of course, among 21 other multi-million-dollar homes. With past gated communities touting names like Prominence Point, it's no wonder Calgary's gated communities get a bit of a ribbing from the masses. For some, the motivation to live in such communities includes safety and security, and that often sought after sense of community. So, are gated communities necessary in Calgary? Do these communities act to deteriorate a larger sense of camaraderie? Or perhaps folks just need to chill and live and let live? Hey Calgary, thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin Chorney. I'm joined tonight by Ward 12 City Councillor Shane Keating. Sir, thanks for being here.
No problem.
As well as Susan Wright. You are a lawyer as well as a city blogger.
Yeah, I am a corporate lawyer and a blogger on politics and local issues.
Perfect. Thanks for taking the time to be here, both of you.
You're welcome.
Maybe Susan, I'll start with you. What does it say that about our city's wealthiest 1% when there is a contingent of them that are comfortable living behind a gate?
Well, it normally causes me a bit of alarm just because, I'm not against wealth. I think it's great that we all have an ability to work hard, live well. I just don't know why we need a gate to keep us separated from the hoi polloi, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. Why do we need a gate? Why do you think some of these people choose to live behind a gate, Shane?
Well, in the case of Mahogany, it's actually very interesting to know that from that gate onwards is all private property. It's not city-owned streets. It's not city-owned area. It's maintained. It was constructed. It's snow removal, garbage is all done by the condominium association that's there.
Yeah.
So when you look at Mahogany, for example, they have a bridge that goes over top of water, obviously.
Yeah.
They're responsible for all safety and all maintenance of that past their point. So the main reason they wanted here, and one of the reasons is, if you have someone going on there who injures himself, or whether a child falls off the bridge into the water or whatever, it's the responsibility of the residents to make sure that that doesn't happen. So the gate technically, effectively does that. The other aspect is when you look at where they're going and how it is maintained, if it's a terminus, and most of the gated communities in Calgary that I've been able to find, they are at the end of a road, so they do not impede pedestrian or traffic flow in any way. The only way that you would want to go on to Mahogany's gated community in this case was if you're going to visit someone, because there's nowhere to go. So you could go on and walk around and come back off, but that would be the essence.
So it's treated as a condominium complex. I think that's a bit of a myth. A lot of people don't seem to understand that.
It's actually called a Bearland Condo Association. So what happens is, from the gate on is all private property. Each of the residents pays a monthly fee, the same as they would in a vertical condo. This is just spread out on an actual parcel of land. And there's numerous ones in Calgary that are actually Bearland Condo Associations, and quite large, or much larger than this one. What happens if they're in the middle of a residential area or wherever that would impede that flow? The city demands that we actually have access rights, so that the pedestrians don't have to walk up to this gated community and go all the way around and then continue on their journey. They actually have pathways that go through, they have roads that go through if that's the necessity. There are many condo associations that are a block big, and they are vertical, but they have a wall around and a gate on that scenario, which aren't gated communities, but they act exactly the same way.
Snow removal is taken care of, lawn maintenance, garbage, recycle. This is all privatized.
That's
I
all
think
privatized.
the garbage removal, though, comes from the city.
It comes from the city.
Yeah, the
but
city
we pay
people
for it
come
the
on.
same as everyone else.
Yeah, that's right.
So
they come on.
It's a fee for service.
So what does it say, though? Is the separation of wealth, the gap, is it dividing in Calgary even further?
I think that's a fair point. And when you look at the history of gated communities, and they've been around since 300 BC, what you see is that normally, as we're looking at how they've evolved, we're looking at them for 3 reasons: lifestyle gated communities, safety and security gated communities, and then prestige communities. And so, I was looking at, why did the city council CPC make an exception in this case?
Calgary Planning Commission, CPC.
That's right. Make an exception in this case to allow this one to go through, notwithstanding the mandate that they had that said no more of these. And first thing you look at is it a lifestyle one? Well, not technically, because it's not a bunch of retired people or elderly who all live together.
Yeah.
It's a mix of people. Is it a security issue? Well, it's smack in the middle of a peaceful neighborhood. The crime rates in Calgary are not high. You know, it's a very safe city to live in, I think. So the security safety aspect of it, you have to question that, plus the fact that just because you've got a gate doesn't mean you're secure from the people out there. You know, to let in your housekeeper and your gardener, and your daughter wants to let in her boyfriend.
What about the pizza man? The pizza guy's gonna
that's
come
right. They know what the code is, or they're given the code, because it's easier than having me stay home and let the gardener in. So it's a porous gate.
Is the safety issue a bit of a misconception?
Oh, I can't say it's a misconception. Whether it's a driving force, I have no idea.
Yeah.
The issue is it's opinionated, without question. Opinionates on one side that say, oh, you can't do that because you're excluding yourself from the community. Now we're talking 22 houses in a community that's 30 to 40,000 people.
Yeah.
And so we're not talking a community, we're talking a small component of a larger community.
I want to touch a little bit more on that. I think that's interesting. We're going to check in with the rant pack real quick, folks. Stay with us.
If given the opportunity, I would love to live in a mansion and I would love to live on a lake. However, I am afraid for my personal security. People tend to want to go live in a gated community because they want to live exclusively. They want to be away from work and they want to kind of be home when they're home, but at the same time there are a lot of risks associated with that, and some of those risks are targeted burglaries.
Okay, sure.
She's got a point.
You
Because
think so? Yeah.
the targeted burglary aspect of it, or the fact that you've set yourself separate from other people, gives the impression that there's something actually very special and worthwhile getting here. You know, I mean, Mount Royal is a very high-end community and doesn't have a gate, right? So many of the big mansions that you see are all over the place, and they're not gated by anybody. So my question's always been, why do you need the gate?
And again, it comes back to the opinion.
Sure.
In my view, we have the legal right to box off our private property. If you remember, it used to be at one time it was the white picket fence. Because everybody had a white picket fence.
Sure.
And legally today, you can actually put a gate across your driveway. Your individual house, you can actually gate your driveway and have it open and close without any problem.
Oh,
so it's the perception.
Everyone's going to do that.
Yeah, it's the perception of where we're going and what it is. I would find it much more, I guess, intrusive or offensive is if they put a sign up that said this is private property, trespassers cannot come on, you must stay out. To me, that's more offensive. A gate, in this case, it's ornate, it's there, it's not an issue. And I've talked to many people who live next to or within a gated community or drive by it, and it's a non-issue to them. And I think that's where we go to those opinions of individuals, right or wrong.
People buy nice cars, and nobody bats an eye. I mean,
That's true.
people have the right, I think. You know, if they want to live in an affluent neighborhood, buy a multi-million-dollar house, what's it to us?
Sure, I agree. But I'm probably one of those people with the opinion that by putting the gate on there, you actually have said keep out. This belongs to us. You are over there on the other side, and we don't want you in here. And it's a little different from a condo, because nobody actually from the outside specifically wants to come to a condominium and walk up and down the hallways. But people might want to come to Mahogany and walk around the lake, you know, and partake in some of the things that they could do there, but they can't.
But that's where you're projecting your opinion onto the other people in the community. You're saying they're the ones who are saying, oh, I don't like this. And that's where I find it, most of the people who live outside these small gated communities that I find, it's not an issue to them. You know, it's not exclusive, it's not. The other issue is this community here, there's no access to the lake.
Well,
Because
actually,
it's
no,
the
there is
same as like
access
a-
to
Well,
it.
there's private
private
access.
access,
But someone coming on cannot go onto the road and go in between someone's house and actually go to the lake and sit on the beach.
No, you have to go through the beach house.
Yeah.
And the only way you get to the beach house is if you have a card key, and the only way you have a card key is if you get in through the door.
But that's
It
not
sounds
on
pretty
the island.
exclusive.
That's not on the island. That's in the community, my understanding. When you're talking the beach house, there's a residents association that covers all of Mahogany.
That's true.
And then you have to have a card as a resident of Mahogany to be able to get into the beach house. That has nothing to do with the island. It's a total separate issue.
Okay, so people, it's pretty clear. I mean, Calgary, like you stated earlier, has a fairly low crime rate. I mean, mind you, recently we've definitely seen a spike in property crime. I think as of July this year, there's a 43% increase in property crime. I mean,
Right.
We all read the news. There's been some unfortunate incidents in the Beltline and whatnot throughout our city. Is it low in Calgary, though, as a whole crime? Absolutely. Now, if people know that are moving into these homes, so security is not their main issue. What is the issue? Is it privacy? I mean, are they having wild parties out there that we're not? Why the privacy need? Because that's sort of where my mind goes.
But, you know, and that's the issue. I've been asked, who are you trying to lock out? And I don't think it's anyone you're really trying to lock out per se. It's just that perception or that community that you want to live in. Regardless of what it is, I know many people who live on acreages, and they have bigger gates than what's here, and people can't go on to. Now, in that case, it is a single family, but it's on 4 and 5 acres.
But it's
the same thing. Well, that's where you define the community. You know, is 21 houses in a 30,000 population community a community, or is it part of? I can go through municipal development plan where they quote over and over again, this is what makes a community. It talks about diverse styles, mixed incomes.
Again, open to opinion, I'm sure.
Open to opinion and everything else,
what
and what the interpretation is.
Yes.
So that's the key, though, when we're talking about community, is that I think that what you're talking about, Shane, is a bubble community, a small community in behind the gate, a bigger community called Mahogany that's there that has use of that lake, and then the bigger community, which is Calgary. And one thing that happens, I think, when you're in behind the gate is you lose touch with the other parts of the community. And let me just give you an example. I live in a very nice neighborhood, and we don't have a gate, obviously. When I back up into my back alley, on Thursday, which is the day before Friday pickup day, there's always a bottle picker there. And I drive by and he gives me a nod and I give him a nod. It brings you back into contact with the humanity that lives in our community. And so when you see that, you get a sense of there are other people out there who are struggling, and there are other people out there that I might be able to think about helping. And it's not so isolated. We're not so homogenous and so cut off. And other people come through, whether they're doing marathon races or whether they're pushing their babies in baby carriages. You don't get that.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, the camaraderie of the surrounding community. Are you losing a bit of that? Are these people alienating themselves?
I don't think so in any way. I don't believe there is such a thing as a bubble. There's a gate, I get that. You can see through the gate. They drive through that community you're talking about every day to get to this, because it is in the middle of a community. It's not on the outside. Many of the other ones, they're, as I said, they're terminus. They're at the end of a road, and there's a very steep ridge or something, and that's, if it was in a different part of the community, I wouldn't be in favor of it in any way, because that's where you get into the impeding of traffic flow and pedestrian flow. But we have cul-de-sacs where there is no alleys. We have cul-de-sacs where you drive in and out constantly, and the only way is one or out. There are many cul-de-sacs that have way more houses than this, with no alleys and no pass-throughs and everything. So, you know, the fact that you might not see a individual on your drive out of this gated community, you see the whole community is going through. These people take part in the exact same activities as many of the other people in Mahogany do. I've met, you know, they go to the community association, they go to the residents association, they go to the Stampede breakfasts. It isn't so much that they are behind their gate and they ignore the world.
It seems a bit unfair to cast them as not being involved in the community.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that these times and opportunities to touch people and to be with them is limited if you actually prevent many of them from coming through. You know, I mean, we lived in a different house elsewhere where every summer you'd have all sorts of people jogging up and down the street in front of you, which you're not going to have when you're living in a community that you have to get through the gate on. You know, so you're just part of the bigger city.
You know, I grew up in the Ranchlands community in Northwest Calgary. I would almost say, my parents still reside there, and I visit from time to time, obviously. Probably not as much as Mom and Dad would like, but I get over there. That community has really changed, and I wonder if it's not so much an isolated issue as far as that interaction, that, like I say, camaraderie, as it is citywide. I mean, is Calgary maybe losing its luster a little bit, or is that just my skewed perception? When it comes to that unity, that sense of community, is that wealth divide, are we seeing a bit of a wedge across our city?
It depends, I think, on the community you're in. In our community, and we live in a very nice community, every summer we have a block party. And so certain people have had they just spontaneously decide we're going to do the block party this year. And next thing you know, there's flyers in everyone's mailboxes, and we block off a little bit of the road so you don't get traffic running the kids down. But anyone who wants to come in here can come in there and enjoy themselves. So
that's cool. We need more of that. We need more of that everywhere in Calgary.
Yeah, and I think that comes from actually seeing people and being around them. I think that, you know, where you run into trouble is when you've got the front garage where all I do is come into my garage, go into my house, do my thing, and leave in the morning and park in my garage.
Which has become the norm.
Well, it is the norm, unfortunately. So you have to make a real effort, right? Yeah. Well, and that's why I just get concerned when we start shutting people out.
It's fair. It's fair. We're going to jump to a quick break, folks. We will be right back. Stay with us.